Hello and welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be doing a little bit of an introduction to HLS and what you can expect from your next year of academic study here at DMU. My name's Jake. I'm a social media officer here at DMU and I'll be hosting today's sort of Q&A session. But I'm going to go around the room and ask everyone to give us a little bit of an introduction to themselves. So I think if we go clockwise, Callie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name's Callie and I'm the Student Advice Centre Manager here in Health and Life Sciences. The Student Advice Centre is based in Edith Murphy House when you're on campus. I would say we are your first port of call for any queries that you may have. If we can't answer your query, we'll know where to direct it to. Our student handbook is being published on Blackboard from Monday, and that should have all the information in it that you need to know. So please have a look, but anything else, get in touch with us.
Thank you very much, Callie. And going around, Nikki, would you be able to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you, meet you. My name's Nikki Brooks, and I'm the Associate Dean Academic for the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences. So kind of really quickly, I suppose, my job role is very much concerned with teaching and learning. So kind of I have the overarching responsibility for teaching and learning for the faculty. I also deal a lot with the new programme provision as well and the development of new programmes. I'm also responsible for things like assessment board activities, so all of the student progression, continuation, and making sure that students are able to succeed in their studies. So I work very closely with both academic and professional services. So professional services are our admin colleagues, and likewise work very closely with the Student Advice Centre. And as Callie said, they are the go-to people, and I definitely go to them as well when I have lots of questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nikki. And finally, to round out the introductions, Anna, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, hi everybody, welcome to DMU. I'm Anna Chesters. I'm the Associate Professor for Student Experience in the faculty. It's quite a long title with a lot of S's in it for somebody with a slight list. My key areas are about module level feedback. So when you do a module, towards the end, you'll be asked to feedback on the module. I also have oversight of all of the personal tutoring that goes on in the faculty. So you should be receiving the name of your personal tutor in the next week or so. That's somebody who you go to for advice, support and guidance, member of academic staff. And I'm also the faculty safeguarding lead. So if there are any student safeguarding concerns, I oversee those. I work with Nikki on the assessment side of things, dealing with appeals and complaints, deferrals, leave of absence, all of those kind of administrative behind the scenes things that need academic oversight as well. And Callie and I know each other very well. I'm often talking with student advice about issues as well as our other professional services teams. So a bit of everything from me as well.
Thank you very much, Anna. Now, this is obviously an open stream. We are accepting questions that we can answer for you. So if you do have any questions, make sure you chuck them in the comments so that we know exactly what you want us to tell you about. But whilst we're waiting for your questions to come on in, Nikki, would you mind telling us a little bit about HLS and what people can expect from their first year at DMU?
Yeah, sure. So I think in terms of HLS, the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences, I think we're officially the biggest faculty now. So it's a bit of a fine line between ourselves and business and law. So they kind of pipped us slightly previously, but we are taking over, and that's our big game plan at DMU. So our faculty kind of wants to take over the university. And essentially, we are such a broad mix within our faculty. So, we cover all of the programs related to health, social sciences, life sciences, and education. So we have a really large mix of programs. We have the largest amount of professional programs within our portfolio. And kind of with that obviously comes a lot of different requirements from different professional bodies and professional organisations. So we literally have a range of over 60 plus undergraduate programs, and in addition to that, a varied collection of postgraduate programs as well. So there's lots of opportunity to continue your studies at DMU. A lot of the people in terms of the staff that work here have come from previous practice-based backgrounds. So we have a lot of professionals that have come into academia, and a lot of ex-students as well. So kind of, you know, at DMU, it is a big family feeling, and certainly I can talk for Anna and myself that in terms of, you know, kind of we've been students at this university and then members of staff, and have progressed kind of through the university structure. So kind of, you know, we have been course leaders ourselves before moving on into these roles. So we've kind of really seen all different areas of university life. In terms of when you come onto our campus, so if you've not seen Leicester before, then our campus is obviously right in the heart of the city. So it's very handy, really well set out for all the local kind of, I'll keep it professional, but obviously the bars, the nightlife, the shops, etc. So we're really, really well located. And when I talked about sort of dominance of the faculty, HLS actually now cover 4 buildings within the university. So as I said, we're kind of taking over the world, definitely. So literally kind of our buildings are split. So we have a huge old Victorian building, which is right in the centre of campus. So that's the Hawthorne building. And a lot of the kind of science-based programs sit within that particular building. Portland building is the home for psychology and our education teams. So that building sort of sits behind Hawthorne. And then on the side of the campus, so we're right on the outskirts, you've got Edith Murphy building, which you can see from the road as the blood red building. And that's where a lot of the nursing, the midwifery, things like speech and language therapy, things like radiography, paramedicine, they have their homes within that building. And then the last building, which is where I am now, is Heritage House. And this is our newly refurbished building. So we've not long taken this one over. So sort of a lot was going on during the sort of around the national lockdown, and we have new teaching facilities that have been brought into this building, particularly on the ground floor of this building, where we've improved our clinical skills facilities. So again, for those students that are maybe studying nursing, paramedicine, you know, kind of those sorts of, you know, professionally based programs, they will probably see here, and then obviously have the opportunity to be taught in the brand new clinical skills building. So in terms of our student body, we have over 6,500 students. So, you know, we have a kind of really vibrant sort of student activity. And, you know, we welcome lots of local students, lots of mature students, so lots of international students. There's a really, you know, great cross-section of people that obviously you'll get to meet as you start to come on to campus over the next week or so. So our faculty is headed up by a dean. So our dean, he's a scientist by background, so Simon Oldroyd, is our dean of the faculty. So, you know, he's the boss man in charge of kind of all of the things in relation to sort of a business aspect. So he's in charge of all of the financials. And I'm sure you'll get the opportunity to meet him as part of your induction week activity. So we have a deputy dean who is Kaushika Patel, and she heads up a lot of the equality and diversity issues on an institutional level, as you know, as well as sort of being the wingman to the dean, so to speak. And then in terms of our structure, what you see are different roles. So you have associate dean, so there's myself who looks after the academic side. We have an associate dean research, who obviously looks after the research side and a lot of the postgraduate research students. And we have an associate dean international who looks after particularly all of the international students, but also kind of, you know, lends himself with international opportunities in terms of new program planning and partnerships with other colleagues. So we have quite a strategic look and quite a strategic viewpoint and work across the faculty. Then what you'll see is essentially 4 schools that do make up the faculty. So we've got the School of Nursing, Midwifery and Paramedicine, so you can guess which programs sit there. The School of Pharmacy, so you've got obviously pharmacy, things like forensic science, etc. sit in that program. Then we've got the School of Allied Health Sciences, and I think their kind of official new name is the Leicester School of Allied Health Sciences. So a lot of the science-based provision sits within that particular school. And then you've got applied, so applied sciences. So in that school, you've got things like education, psychology, criminology, those sorts of programs. So all of the different 4 schools are headed up by both a head of school and an associate head of school as well. So they're kind of like the key leaders really within that particular school environment. And then as we kind of go through each course or each program, as we call it, so your kind of program of study will also have what we call a program leader. So a course leader who is essentially in charge of that particular course. So again, you know, kind of they're the go-to person in terms of overall kind of course queries or program queries. So just changing terminology. So we use the word program at DMU. So as you progress through your studies, you will be enrolled on lots of different modules. And again, it's probably very similar to what you've known previously. So each of those little modules or units of study almost will be headed up by a module leader. So there will be somebody who is in charge and who leads that particular module. So around them, obviously, you have the full teaching team. And as Anna mentioned, in addition to that, you will be allocated a personal tutor. And your personal tutor will stay with you for your whole program of study. So somebody that you will get to know very well over the next 3 years. And they're the first line really for things like academic support and pastoral support as you progress through your studies. We always say to students, you know, please, you know, come and see us, come and find us. We love to have a chat to our students. To be fair, within the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences, you know, our students have been coming onto campus, or a lot of our students have throughout the kind of around the lockdown periods, because we have the practical based courses. And it's great to see the campus kind of coming back to life. So it has been a little bit quiet round here, obviously so, but you know, our students are in. Our students are attending face-to-face study, and you know, literally all the teams cannot wait to meet you and welcome you to DMU properly and join our part of the family. You're on mute.
I am indeed. Thank you very much. That was perfect. Thank you for the very succinct summary of HLS, Nikki. Thank you. I can see we're getting a couple of new people in, so just as a aside, if you have any questions you want answered, by all means, throw them down in the comments. We'll get to them after we've done a little bit more of a conversation about what we have to offer. In particular, Student Advice Centre is where we're going to go next, which might not be a familiar term to you, so I'm going to hand over to Callie to go over just what they can offer you whilst you're at DMU.
Thanks, Jake. So the Student Advice Centre is based in Edith Murphy House on the campus. If you weren't watching before, Nikki mentioned it. It's the big red brick building on the edge of the campus. We're based on the lower ground floor in there, so kind of in the basement. But we're there all day, every day to answer any queries that you may have. We're contactable by telephone, email, face-to-face. So if you're on campus and you've got any questions about anything, you're more than welcome to pop in and see us. We'll welcome you to come in and see us. We work very closely with the programme administrators on your programme. So the guys that actually do the background with your files and things like that. And they're based in an office just behind us. So if you've got any queries that need referring to them, obviously we work very closely with them. They can help you there. We also deal with locker rental. We manage the locker rental in the Student Advice Centre. So we have a suite of lockers in the Hawthorne building that are available for students to rent. They are going live on the DMU online store on Monday. It costs £20 to rent a locker for 1 academic year, and the keys are due back at the end of May every year. They're collectible from the Student Advice Centre, and that's where you return them to as well. We're open, as I say, all day, every day, 8:30 till 4:30 every day. We close at 4 on a Friday. I can't promise that we can answer every query that you may have, but we will know where to direct your queries to. If you've got any worries about anything, please don't bury your heads in the sand thinking anything will go away. Come and talk to us. If it's an academic query, then we'll know to direct you to your personal tutors or academic staff. If it's something to do with your administration of your programme, we can talk to our administrators. There's also Gateway House, where Student Services is based. So they help with student finance, welfare, wellbeing, counselling, things like that. You will be given an introduction to them with more information about who they are and what they do. But within the Student Advice Centre as well, we also deal with the submission and return of coursework. So for a lot of our programmes now, you will be submitting your work electronically, so through something like Turnitin. But there will still be some programmes that require hard copy hand-ins. A lot of these can be sort of practice assessment documents that students gain signatures in, so they have to be hard copy documents. You bring them to the Student Advice Centre in Edith Murphy House and hand them in to the academics, whoever it is that they need to go to. We have coursework cover sheets that you need to complete for every piece of work that you hand in to us. That's just so that we can stamp it and give you the carbonated copy as your receipt, so you've got proof that you've handed your work in to us. We subsequently pop that in a box, and the academics will come and collect that from us and take it away for marking, and then they return it back to us for you to collect from us. You do need to have your student card with you to collect any work from us, so make sure that you've got that on you at all times when you're on campus. We've also got a supply of forms in the Student Advice Centre, so we've got extension forms, deferral forms, change of module request forms. All of these as well are all available on Blackboard. So on the Health and Life Sciences shell on Blackboard, there's a subfolder called Student Advice Centre, and if you go in there, there's another subfolder called Forms, and like I say, that's where all of our forms are stored. So there's electronic copies of everything in there. Anything else, as I say, pop in and see us, drop us an email, give us a call. We're more than happy to see you and talk to you about any queries that you may have.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Callie, for that. Yes, the Student Advice Centre is a fantastic place to go for any queries you might have, and I'm sure we'll get into some of those specific queries later, and how to deal with some individual subjects. But I think to round out our sort of go around, we'll head round to Anna, excuse me. Anna, who I believe is going to tell us a little bit more about the personal tutors and their sort of role in your education. Oh.
Rookie error.
There we go.
Thank you, everybody. Now, I imagine you're probably feeling a bit overwhelmed now because you've had a lot of information and you've had words like programme and Blackboard and all sorts of things. Don't start to panic. It will all become clear to you once you get here. But before I start talking about personal tutoring, I just want to give you a heads up about some of the tools that we've put in place for you as new starters to help you get started at DMU, because we do realise that it can be quite a stressful experience as well as an exciting experience starting university. Some of you will be moving away from home for the first time, trying to make new friends, find your way around a new city, as well as grapple with the online resources that we've got available and finding your way to classrooms, etc., etc. So we do understand that it's a really exciting but quite nerve-wracking time. So we've put together a few resources for you to help to make the most of your time at DMU, and I'm hoping that they might come up in the chat or across the screen as I mention them. So probably the starting point for you would be something called Your DMU Future, which is an online microsite which contains all sorts of information. Thank you. It contains all sorts of information and a frequently asked questions box. And that's really a good place to start, because if you've got any questions, that you will find the answers a lot of the time in the frequently asked questions or in the other sort of sections that we've made available for you to help you to get started at DMU. So do take a look at that just to find out a bit more about starting at DMU and what it means and what's available for you. This year, brand new, we've also developed a microsite called Dmu Base Camp. Now that is an interactive course that's been developed to boost your learning experience at the university and help you take advantage of all of the resources that are available. And the idea behind Dmu Base Camp is that it's somewhere where you start and you can go on your journey, but you can return to. So it's not a sort of linear, not a straight line journey. It's a journey that you could come back to Base Camp and find some more things about. So that's an online resource that can help to develop confidence in studying and also to achieve your learning outcomes. So it's a really good microsite there for you. And the other resource that we have for you is something called Healthy DMU, because we recognise that life happens and people get stressed, people get anxious, people sometimes can't find their way, people sometimes want advice about how to actually work and sleep and go out and how to manage life. And Healthy DMU is a really good site with lots of links on it through to advice and guidance and counselling, etc. Sorry, there's something just popped up on my screen there. I don't know why. So those three electronic sites, DMU Future, DMU Base Camp and Healthy DMU, would be a really good start for you in this next week or so before you actually get to induction week, before you actually really start on your programs. Just have a look around and a search and find out what you need to know. So I'll come on to personal tutoring. When you arrive at the university, you'll be given the name of a member of academic staff, and they are your personal tutor. And as Nikki said, they are with you for the whole of your 3 years. Now, what they're there to do is to give you support and guidance. And if you're struggling, they will signpost you, they will direct you into the right way to go or the right support. I think one of the differences some of you will find coming to university is that unlike being at college or at school where things are done for you, being at university, there's a sort of expectation that you're a lot more self-directed and more proactive for yourself. So your personal tutor will be there to help you develop that resilience and develop those skills for actually going and helping yourself, as well as asking somebody to help you out. So your personal tutor is probably the key point of contact for anything that's happening in your life. They can't fix things for you. So if you've got problems paying your gas bill, they can't pay it for you, but they can give you some advice or some suggestions as to where you might go to seek help and support. The university's got a massive welfare system. So DSU Welfare is a huge resource covering everything from finance to well-being to counselling to mental health support. So it's a massive, massive part of the university. And personal tutors will help to direct you to that. But you'll also find information about DMU welfare on those microsites that I've mentioned. I think on behalf of all of us, Callie, Nikki and myself, we're really pleased that you've chosen to come to DMU, and we'd like to welcome you, and we hope that you enjoy your studies and that you are able to achieve and succeed.
Very eloquently put. Thank you very much, Hannah. So we're going to get into a couple of sort of more specific questions now. Again, if you have any that you would like to ask us, by all means, stick them in the comments and we will get right to them. But to start with, I'm going to sort of talk about, you've talked a lot, Anna, about support, both financial and mental and all of the very important ways that DMU can support the students. But I'd like to ask about what stages a student should take if they are struggling academically, and sort of how they should go about that. So would anyone be able to take this one?
Yeah, I'll give Anna a little breather and I'll take this question if you like. So I think the main thing is, if you find yourself struggling, then ask for help. So university is a different environment to kind of, school learning, etc. So, it is a bit more led by yourselves. So literally, if you find that you can't do a piece of work, that you don't understand it, or you are unwell, or absolutely anything, then ask for help. The key people essentially to kind of ask about a particular piece of academic work would either be your module leader, who's in charge of that particular unit of study, or within that, sometimes for assessments, then staff will be allocated to look after a number of students and support them through an individual assessment. So again, you'll know which member of academic staff will be looking after you and supporting you through that assessment. So chances are that individual academic member of staff will provide a tutorial, so they'll outline kind of the assessment to you. And at that point, you know, if you still don't understand it, if you are struggling with that assessment, then please do ask them for more help, and they will be happy to do so. More broadly, though, if you are struggling academically and you find yourself balancing a bit too much, you know, you've got assessments that are coming in and you're just getting a little bit weighed down with it, or if you have circumstances where you are unwell, or there might be kind of significant events that are happening that are, you know, sort of out of your control, but some quite, you know, extreme extenuating circumstances, then there are processes in place that we have. So we have different things. So the first one being an extension. So you can request an extension. So this is done formally through kind of an application form and supplying evidence, essentially kind of to identify what the problem is. And that process will allow you an extra 2 weeks on top of your original assessment deadline. So we don't want to think about kind of all the winter bugs and things that go round, but I don't know if you're suffering from a case of diarrhea and vomiting, or, you know, come down with a horrible flu virus or something and unable to take an assessment. Normally an extension of up to 2 weeks is sufficient so that you can complete the work and then hand it in at a later date. If other things are going on that are a lot bigger than that, and, you know, unfortunately some students do find themselves in some quite difficult circumstances, so might be a family death, for example, then you can request what's called a deferral. So that deferral, literally the easiest translation is that it voids the assessment opportunity at that time, and then you are permitted to take that assessment at a later date without penalty. So again, the completion of a form plus evidence is the correct process to take. There is lots of information about a deferral on the website, and as Callie said, on our local Blackboard community site, which is our virtual learning environment. So, you know, the kind of there's lots of information out there, and we would always recommend that you have a conversation with somebody, or you read the information prior to requesting these things. So obviously to make sure that it is the absolutely right decision for you. Okay. But there is a wealth of support. Okay, I can't underestimate that, but you need to ask for that support if you do find yourself struggling. As we all do, and as I'll hold my hand up, I've done it before when I was a student, you know, sometimes you do like bury your head in the sand, you let things get on top of you, and then you get to a point where you think, I've got a problem here. So don't let it get bigger and worse than it needs to be. You know, lots of people will help you, and will help to find the best solutions for you. Okay, so it's through having those conversations. But we can't do that unless you tell us that there is an issue. Okay, so lots of help, lots of support out there. Does that answer your question, Jake?
I think that's answered it pretty perfectly. Thank you very much, Nikki.
You're welcome.
So we're going to sort of shuffle on to the other end of the scale. Sort of, I guess it feels a little extreme to be going to it now, but when you're coming out of university, sort of one of the main things I know for most students is wanting to come out of this with a job, as well as having a lovely experience at university, but wanting to have those job opportunities. So would anyone be able to talk about some of the employment stuff that DMU, and in particular DMU, obviously, but also placements that we can offer our HLS students?
Are you happy for me to take this one? Because I'm the employability lead, so I guess it sits with me.
By all means. My apologies, Nikki.
No, there you go. Secret job role there that you weren't aware of. Yeah, so again, health and life sciences is really, really unique in the fact that we are probably the only faculty where we have employability activities embedded throughout all of our different programs. So literally sort of from the end of year one, the beginning of year two, there will be that real focus on employability and kind of, starting with some of the key employability skills, things like, writing an application form, preparing a CV, those sorts of kind of key skills, and then really building up sort of through your program of study. So the idea being that even before you get to the end of your course, that you will be fully prepared to be able to apply for employment opportunities. The faculty is very, very variable in terms of obviously how those employment opportunities work. But we've got some great working relationships. We work really, really closely with a lot of the big name employers. So, people like University Hospitals of Leicester as one kind of key example. And a lot of those employers come into the classroom, they meet with our students, and we do almost things like job fairs. So where, kind of these employers have got vacancies, they will come in because they want DMU students. So that's really, really positive. The other, and this is a shameless plug, for our faculty-wide employability conference. So every November, it's November the 8th this year, we have a HLS employability conference. So obviously because of the pandemic, we did that last year online, and we're going to continue that virtually this year. And that's really, it's amazing. Every year it gets bigger and better. But we have about 1,000 HLS students that attend, and that's a series of workshops from, again, the key employers, but also from our ex-students, our alumni, that have bagged themselves great jobs, and come and talk to our current students about how you can do it, what you can do with the degree, sort of at the end of the course of study. So there will be loads and loads of promotional stuff going out about we call it the PAVE conference. So Plan Ahead, Value, Employability is the acronym. So that's in November. And, really there is something for everybody. So, get that one in your diary. It's never too early to start thinking about employability. In terms of placements, so again, our programs are kind of quite unique. So some programs have placements embedded all the way through them. So that's the expectation of the course. Other programs of study that we have offer like a placement year. So we have a few programs where there's that placement year opportunity, or there's more shorter placements available for students. So it's a real mixed bag. Excuse me, I've got a tickle now. And we work very closely with DMU Works, which is our central careers team, to make sure that obviously all of those opportunities are broadcasted to students. I'm going to take a slurp of drink and stop.
That's absolutely fine, Nikki. Thank you very much for answering 2 questions in a row. We'll move on to another one and give you a chance to catch your breath. So I have a quick question here, which was asked before the stream, about if a student is unsure about the course and would like to change it. What's the process for that? How do they do that? And when are they able to do that by? So Anna, would you like to take this one? Give Nikki a break?
Yeah, sure, give Nikki a bit of a break. Yes, it is possible to change your programme. However, there's something that called the academic regulations. They are regulations that cover every single programme, and they tell us what we are allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. So we always have to work within the academic regulations. Now, the academic regulation for changing programmes says that a student may request to change their programme by the end of week 2. So that's the end of week 2 of teaching. So if you are wanting to change programs, it's something that you have to consider really quite quickly and get your form in. The forms are available, as Callie said, from Student Advice Centre, or also in the forms online section, which I think we can go through again as to where you can find those. Exceptionally, and the word is exceptionally, and these will have to be agreed by Nikki, the Associate Dean Academic, changes to programmes can be completed by the end of week 4, but I would guard against that. The first 2 or 3 weeks of your programme is really where you're getting the foundations of what you're going to be studying. So if you don't start a new programme until 4 or 5 weeks in, you'll have missed a lot of that work and learning that's actually setting the foundations for the rest of your studies. So if it is something that you're thinking, I might want to hedge my bets and change once I get to DMU, you've only got a short window of 2 weeks in which to make that decision. Callie, I don't know if there's anything you could further explain about where those forms are online again, just because this is all new to everybody.
Yeah, on Blackboard, under My Communities, I believe it is, there should be a part that says Health and Life Sciences. When you click on that, there's subfolders under that on the left-hand side. One of them is Student Advice Centre, and once you go into that one, there's another subfolder called Forms, and that's got all of the forms in it. In terms of access to Blackboard, if you haven't got that yet, it should be showing soon with all of your modules on there that you're registered on. When it comes to the transfer form as well, the program transfer form, you need to make contact with the program leader for the program that you're wanting to go to gain their approval that they will accept you onto that program. That's your first job, really, before you leave any program that you're on. As soon as you've got their acceptance, you then need to go to the program leader of the program that you're currently on, and you have to be signed off and released from that program by that program leader. When you get the form, there are sections for 2 signatures. So you're accepting program leader and you're releasing program leader. Once you've got both those signatures, you can submit your form to the Student Advice Centre. You need to submit it to the Student Advice Centre of the faculty that you're going to. So if you're changing faculties completely, it will be the one that you go into that you need to submit it to. If it's Health and Life Sciences, then obviously as in the Student Advice Centre, and we can pass that on for you to programme administrators.
Perfect, thank you. That's a very comprehensive look at it. I think we might actually come back to you again, Callie, now, because we've got another question about Blackboard and about Base Camp. So Alex Dabrowski asks, can I ask, should there be anything available to see on Blackboard yet? As I am able to log in, but there's nothing there. And how do we access this Base Camp mentioned earlier?
I can take that if you like. Students can can find Blackboard once they're registered and enrolled. So once everything's gone through the computer systems and you're live, then you will be able to find Blackboard. Blackboard is our virtual learning environment. Now, when you go into Blackboard, you will see down the right-hand side of your computer screen all of the modules that you are enrolled onto. Down the left-hand side, there's a box that's called My Communities. And My Communities is where Callie's been talking about the Health and Life Sciences Blackboard shell, but it's also where you will find the Dmu Base Camp. So once you are live and you can find Blackboard, then you'll be able to access Dmu Base Camp.
Can I just add that in terms of being live, the program administrators are currently, as we speak, going through the process of finalising registrations. So for students that have completed their confirmation of registration form recently, and most recently over the weekend, the administration staff are literally working their way through those at the moment. And on our internal recording system, they will be changing your file to finalised. And I believe that's when the Blackboard access will kick in once you've been made final. So if that's not happened yet, don't panic. As I say, they're literally just working their way through them at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you very much to both of you. So I'm gonna go through a couple of questions here because there's one which is a relatively simple one to answer. Kate Doherty, apologies, asked if there are any specialist apps or programs needed for the SALT that we need to be aware of. No, I believe is the answer. you should be all right on that behalf. But then we also have a question from Ben Matthew asking, how does Freshers Week work? Do I have to come and do I have to pay? Now, Freshers Week is not actually the DMU side of it. It's the DSU run the Freshers Week, which is a series of sort of social events to get involved with, which is not mandatory. You don't have to come, but we do encourage it because it's great. You get the Societies Fair where you get to find a load of different extracurricular activities you can get involved with whilst you're here at DMU. And there's a lot of chance to sort of make new friends as you sort of just come to university. The DMU half of it, the academic half of it, as it relates to HLS, would be Induction Week, I believe. Is anyone able to sort of have a bit of a talk about what Induction Week will entail for these students?
Yeah, I can talk about that. Firstly, I think I would say I'd recommend to go to Freshers Week. So my stepdaughter has just gone to university in Leeds, so her Freshers Week is this week, and she's having a great time. So I can only kind of encourage you to, you know, obviously take the opportunity to see what societies there are, kind of, you know, make friends and think about joining clubs, etc. So always recommend it. So in relation to induction then, really, Induction Week is going to be a wealth of information, obviously, given to you. But fundamentally, it's the chance to really hear more about your course and about your program that you will be studying. So it's the opportunity to meet the program leaders, obviously the teaching team, and they will tell you what you will be doing. And they'll also talk through lots of different things. So, you know, they'll kind of go through some of the fundamental bits about Blackboard, how to use it, how to navigate it. They'll go through the pieces about the academic regulations, all sorts of information literally around the course, and then more widely about the university as well. So it goes without saying, we kind of have to do the health and safety stuff. So, you know, kind of we have to have the conversations about things like what to do in the event of fire, etc. But all of those things, so they're all put together Induction Week for you. So it's just a really broad introduction to everything DMU from the academic side.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Nikki. So yes, it's very important that you get yourself down for Induction Week. You don't have to get involved with Freshers Week, but we would definitely recommend it. I think we've also got a question here from Jana asking what's the earliest that we will get our ID cards. I believe that also happens during Induction Week, providing you fill out your pre-registration.
Yeah, once as long as you've done your confirmation of registration and you've been finalised, they are doing the first batch. The student cards are being posted to the term time address that we have on record, so it's really important if you move into halls or you change your term time address that you keep us updated with that. And they're sending out the first batch, I believe, on the 28th of September is the first sort of post run that's going out of the student cards, and then they'll be doing them daily after that for anybody else that finalises. On the note of the addresses as well, if you do need to update any details like that, on the My DMU app, there's a tile on there called Personal Details, and if you can update your address on there yourself. If it's your name that needs changing, you will need to contact us because we'll need to see ID and we'll need to change it. But if it's just your address, you can do that yourself on the app.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And because it seems to be a bit of an induction whirlwind at the moment, I've also got another question from Jana asking, do we have to bring anything to our on-campus induction series, sessions even? I presume that would just be a case of bringing yourself and a pen and paper, right?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Clarification as to what Jenna's thinking about.
Yeah, if it's an introductory session, in most cases, it will probably be a notepad and pen, so you can take any notes that you might want to. But for the most part, they aren't particularly. It's not a stressful week induction. It's quite a nice week. You get to know everyone who you'll be studying with and studying from. We've got another question in here asking, what is SALT? Is it required for all students? correct me if I'm wrong, I believe SALT is speech and language therapy, the course.
Very good. Gold star.
I was in chem, so I don't know how I remembered that, but yes, so it's a separate course, so it is not required for all students. It is just an acronym for one of our many courses.
And we have many acronyms as well. So
we have so many acronyms.
Dmu language to learn.
But it'll be relatively simple. And I will also answer another question from Ben here. Can you access Blackboard on laptop, as I am unable to do so? That's in that kind of situations when they would come to the SAC. Is that right, Callie?
Yeah. He's welcome to give us a call or drop us an email. As I said, it could be something to do with the registration if it's not quite yet been finalised. But if he gets in contact, we can look into his individual file and see exactly what the situation is with that.
Absolutely. Again, it's very important to get your pre-registration done in time. If you are having issues, if it's not turning up, do not worry. Best people to get into contact with are either the registrations query group or the Student Advice Centre. So I'm just looking at a couple more of the questions. By all means, keep on sending them in. Thank you very much. We have someone asking how much of the inductions are going to be online. And how much are going to be face-to-face. I believe people should have received their induction timetables.
They should have, right, yeah, they should have. And actually, a lot of the induction week is face-to-face. So program teams have worked to make sure that they get to meet the students and get to meet students face-to-face. There may be some sessions that are a bit online and a bit face-to-face, particularly for programs where there are international students. So there might be students in other time zones, other students who haven't been able to come into the country yet for isolation reasons, government restrictions, etc. So there may be some online stuff, but I know that all the programs are offering a lot of face-to-face for induction week.
Thank you very much, Anna. And Alex, I see your last message talk about having technical issues trying to log into Blackboard. Again, this is something you should get in contact with the Student Advice Centre.
Sorry to cut you off, Jake. I'm literally just trying to log into Blackboard now and I'm getting a server error. So I don't know if there's a problem with Blackboard at this very moment in time.
This could be a university-wide thing, so don't worry too much about it.
Yeah, if you're trying to do it at the moment, I think it might just be a bit of a glitch.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, so I'm sure our ITMS team, our technical team, will be on that, and they will be getting that sorted for you. So yeah, thank you very much for your questions. Keep on sending them in. I think I'm trying to think of some of the bits of some of the aspects of life at DMU that we haven't really covered yet. So we talked about employability and those options. Have we discussed placements yet, and sort of how people can get involved with that, and would anyone be able to sort of pick up that baton? If not a problem. We can move on.
Sorry, I was unmuting.
I think we're all waiting for each other.
Yeah, no, I did mention a little bit before my coughing fit, but I think with placements, it's slightly difficult to answer that because it really depends on the program of study that that each student is undertaking. So it's probably fair to say within a lot of courses within health and life sciences, they are theory practice courses. So the placement is literally embedded as part of the course. I did mention as well, though, that we are doing in some courses, we offer like a placement year. So kind of a year out to work in industry. And, you know, we have more and more courses that are offering that opportunity for students. And obviously, you know, we kind of link in with areas like DMU Global and DMU Local that offer sort of, you know, shorter placement taster type sessions, as well as to kind of increase that side of learning. So there's lots of opportunity. It's just quite variable within HLS. So it's quite difficult to give a sort of, you know, a confirmed answer, because it will depend on which course a student is studying.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nikki. And yes, placements can vary in types and vary from course to course. Some courses they will actually form part of your course. But we will go for the last couple of questions. So if you've got anything you desperately want to know, get it in quick. and then we will sort of be coming towards the end of our live stream. So the next question from Miriam asks, again, going back to induction week, are the students able to view the pre-recorded sessions of the induction week currently? I believe these are ones that will be recorded on the day and then put up afterwards. Is that correct? I'm getting nods.
Yeah,
that's what I understand.
As far as I'm aware, I haven't heard that there's any pre-recorded for listening to in advance, but there is a pre-induction or an e-induction with a self-assessment exercise that students will be able to do.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we've got last two from Ben Matthew again. Asking, I've opened my DMU app, and when I open the timetable, everything seems to be great. I don't believe timetables have been given out for first-year students yet. I think, is it the 28th or the 30th of September, I want to say?
30th of September.
30th of September, perfect. And Alex in the chat is even answering Ben as we speak. So I've got a final question from the audience then, is Enhancement Week the same as Induction? No, I don't believe so. So what would someone be able to talk a bit about what Enhancement Week is? Because obviously that's sort of our version of half term.
Yes, I suppose it would be, some of the universities might call it a reading week, but it's a week where there's traditionally no teaching, but the idea is that students are able to enhance their learning by taking part in various experiences to do with their studies. I don't know, Nikki, have you got anything more? Some programs don't have enhancement weeks. Teaching goes all the way through, so it does depend which program you're studying on as to whether you have an enhancement week or not. Nikki, is there anything you want to add?
I can do, yeah. So for level 4 students, for incoming students, they do, university-wide doesn't recognise Enhancement Week at level 4. However, within the faculty, because we have our employability conference, we do ask our programmes very nicely not to schedule too much teaching, so that students have the opportunity to attend both programme level and the faculty employability conference. So for all other levels, there really is the opportunity to get involved with employability activities. So there are 2 enhancement weeks. So one is always around bonfire night, so early November, and then the second one in the year normally occurs kind of towards the end of February. I can't remember the actual teaching weeks, but those kind of 2 weeks in the academic calendar are left clear. So students kind of use the opportunity to read, to do some extra study, to catch up with any outstanding academic work, but we also do put events and things on related to employability in those weeks.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Nikki. And thank you very much, everyone, both in the comments and on screen here. I think we're coming towards the end, so I think we'll just go for a little quick go around and see if people have any sort of last remarks or anything they'd like to add that they might not have had a chance to get out earlier. So, Callie, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I was just going to mention about attendance monitoring as well for the programs within HLS. The attendance is monitored differently on different programs, so depending on your program there'll be different requirements. So it is just a plea really to make sure that your attendance is recorded. So if you're on campus in any teaching spaces, most of them now have electronic readers on the walls as you walk in the rooms, so you swipe your student card and that will swipe you as attended at that session. If it's a session where there's not a card reader, a lot of the time there may be a paper register that's being passed around the room. If there is, make sure you sign that. Or for a lot of virtual online sessions, they're using Microsoft Forms for you to register your attendance. As I say, it's really important that if you attend any sessions, you make sure that that's recorded somewhere. When it comes to things like nursing and midwifery, when you finish your course with us, any references that are done, it does record your attendance and absence on there. So it's really important that that's accurate. If you've got any questions about that, obviously come and see us in the Student Advice Centre. But yeah, that was just a reminder. Any rooms, look for your swipe reader to swipe your card on.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Callie. That's a very important note. We will continue around to Nikki. Have you got any last thing you'd like to add?
No, nothing in particular, apart from a big warm welcome, obviously, to DMU. I absolutely look forward to seeing you in person around campus over the sort of coming weeks and months. And yeah, just welcome and good choice. So.
Well chosen indeed. And Anna, to round us out, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Nothing in particular, just I wish we could have met you in person, but for today, but welcome to DMU, and like Nikki, look forward to seeing you around the campus and really enjoy your time with us as well as study hard.
Well, thank you very much to Callie, Nikki and Anna for coming along. Thank you to everyone in the comments who's been asking us questions, and everyone, if you've just been sat watching, thank you for attending this little chat. Thank you to Lauren behind the scenes for making this whole live stream work. And we look forward to seeing you on campus. Have a very lovely week, and we will see you at the start of term. Thank you.
Thank you.